Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So we've got the NB4 Plus and we've got a new firmware update for this. It's 1093 I believe. So as always, bring you in for a close-up look, talk you through doing the firmware update and see if it resets model memories when it does it. Some updates do, some don't, so be interesting to see. And then I'll run you through the changelog and see if we can find the features that it's changed, see if it's anything that'll be useful to you guys. So let's bring you in for a close-up look, see how we get on with this one. So first thing we're going to want to do is go to Flysky's website. So it's flysky-cn.com. As always, we've got two ways of updating this. So if we go to products, scroll down to surface, then you want to find the NB4 Plus. Then we want to go to downloads and upgrades. If we scroll down, we've got a user manual, you've got the EU firmware, you've got the EN firmware. So that's where you need to go into your menu on the NB4 Plus and see if you've got the EU or the EN version. So we've also got FCC firmware, and I get asked this every single time. The FCC version of the EN and EU is higher power but more battery drain. The standard version is lower transmission power and slightly less battery drain. It's entirely up to you which version you use. On all my radios I use standard and I've never had a range issue. So we can pick the version of the transmitter we've got. So if we fire up as transmitter,
welcome to Nova Plus.
Then we just need to go to main menu, system, scroll down to the bottom, and on ours we've got the EN version and we can see we're on 108 standard. So we can come off that. So one way we can update the transmitter is to download the EN version standard firmware. So if we just click download, it'll ask you where you want to save it. So for me, if we go to desktop, and then I've got an NB4 Plus folder, and I'm just going to save the firmware updater to that. The other option that we've got is you can download Flysky Assistant, which I would download for backing up your model memories. So on this one, you just click download. When it's downloaded, you click install. We've also got the release notes. So if we have a quick look on here. So added low power mode function, added failsafe warning function. This function can be enabled or disabled. When enabled, if the current model has not been set up for failsafe, no output, a pop-up window will prompt after the transmitter is powered on. Added sensor limit value function to record extreme value information of the connected sensors. That might be quite interesting if we've got now a way of recording the maximum speed and maximum temp. Modified functions, so optimize the period of powering on, so I'm guessing that means it powers on quicker. Modified TH mid to TH prop. You can select a preset throttle proportion or a customized throttle proportion. Modified custom area of main interface, TH prop function can now be displayed in custom area. Modified default assignment of trim TR2 forward and back in assignment from throttle trim to none. Modified failsafe function, not set, no output is added. Modified stick calibration function. The function interface will display the current calibrated channels values and the previous calibrated values. Optimized other issues and user experience. So tells us a bit, but not a lot. So we've got us firmware downloaded. Basically, what I like to do first is fire up Flysky Assistant. So we'll get that on first. And just for my curiosity, it says they've optimized the power on. So 1, 2.
Welcome to Nobot Plus.
It doesn't really take long to turn on anyway.
Shutting down.
But at least we'll be able to connect it and see after we've updated it if it makes any difference. So for this one, the USB-C cable I've got's a bit too big for battery connection. So I'm just going to pop off the base battery and I'm going to use one of SourceSky's little USB-C adapters. So we're just going to connect the USB-C to your actual transmitter. Once we've got that on, should see it say online device settings. So we go into that. We can see as current version. So we're going to want to back up as model memories. So we'll just go into this quickly. And I'm not sure if it needs this. To make this quicker, if you just select the ones you've actually got rather than selecting all, it'll make the backup process a lot quicker. If you click next, you'll see the following screen or previous, because you have got the 20 model memories and then 5 extra. So we can click export. It's going to ask us where to save them. So for me, I'm going to go into my NB4 Plus folder. You can rename this or give it a date or anything, but I'm just going to save it. I always tend to make a new one because any changes I've made since I've created the backup will be added. It doesn't really take long. I keep getting asked what this little thing is. It's a Lenovo Legion Go Windows 11 handheld PC, and I just have it running through a USB hub. You do have 2 USB sockets on it, so it is really useful. And I just have external keyboard and mouse plugged in, but you can clip this off and that off, and then you've got a switch on bottom of this that turns it into a fully functioning mouse. Very useful little thing, especially if you want to take it to your track to swap model memories or program any of your receivers or things like that. But once this is backed up, we can now go to firmware update. So it does prompt you to back up first. If we click update, we do actually have this version listed. So the other way to do it would be to close this and then use the firmware updater. You can go through this assistant, but it is a lot slower. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to close assistant. So once we've got the firmware update in the folder, we can get as transmitter. We can go to our system menu. We can scroll down and then you'll see firmware update. Put it into firmware update mode. You'll hear Windows detect it. You'll see it comes up on the transmitter saying do not operate. Once you've done that, then you can open the firmware updater. You can see that as transmitter says ready for update. If you forget to put it in update mode on the transmitter, this will just say it fails. You won't break anything. So if we set it to update, and I've only had one transmitter fail to update and it bricked it, which was the G7P, but mine were on a test firmware, and that was for Assistant, and we did get a new firmware and fixed it really quickly. But for me, I tend to prefer using Assistant just to back up the model memories and everything, purely because the actual standalone updater is so much quicker. I mean, we're already at 42% and it's programming Flash on the NB4 Plus. But this updater is just a quarter at time it takes to do it in Assistant. So for me, if you're comfortable doing it and choosing the right updater, then I would go down this road. If you choose the wrong updater, so you choose the EU instead of the EN, and you've got a EN radio, it'll just not do it. It won't show up in here at all, or it'll just not update it. So you're not going to damage your transmitter using the wrong one. And you do get the choice of FCC or standard, which at the moment it didn't say which it were in Assistant. And I'd always rather have the choice of what I'm putting on it. But as you see on here, it doesn't take that long at all. I do try and not skip these bits in case somebody's trying to follow, because it does pause at certain percentages. At the minute we're at 65%. 66. It does jump, I think, a bit at end. But yeah, these little Legion Go's absolutely fantastic. They'll run for ages if you put them in power save mode off of their own battery. So technically you wouldn't need a power supply or anything. With them being USB, the full USB power delivery spec. So any of the power banks you can run them off. But they do come in really, really handy, especially if you just want to make little alterations at track on servos or radios, or share your model memories, or if you've got somebody at track that wants to update the firmware and don't know how to do it. Well, we're currently at 76%, so I don't think it's going to take much longer. Be interesting to see if this update wipes the model memories. So now at 80%, something in the back of my mind says it gets to about 90 odd and jumps to 100%. It's always really handy to have a backup of your models as well, in case you completely destroy your transmitter or you buy another one. It's handy just to be able to restore all your settings, and then you just have to bind it back to each vehicle. One thing I would do, and I'll run you through it, is once you've done a firmware update on any of the NB4 radios, I would go into the system menu and run a calibration on your throttle and your steering. I do get messaged quite a lot with people saying they've got no throttle or 25% throttle. So that's now finished. The transmitter has restarted. And as it said in the change log, let's see if I can get it focused. I think that's about the best we're going to get, because it's quite a bright screen on this one. But it does say this model's failsafe is not set. Do you want to set it up? So we can go to yes, and you've got it set to no output on iBus and PWM. You can go to all fixed values, which I would do. If you're going to be running an electric one, I would set these to just no output or free. So you could set them to free. If you're running a nitro, you're going to want to set your throttle to slight brake. But apparently we can turn that option on and off. So once it comes on, we can see if it's reset all of models by going into model select. So yeah, this firmware update does reset all the models. Certainly something that I'd want to do is come into the system menu and go to stick calibration. So this page has changed quite a bit. We can see that a steering last calibrated were 90 and 87, throttle and brake is 62 and 30. So we can run through the calibration. So we can see that now our brake is 30 and 63, as left and right is 87 and 90. So you're back out at calibration, it says it's successful. Then what we're going to want to do is go back into Assistant, So yeah, this is definitely one way you're going to want to make sure your model memories are backed up, which is why I always suggest it's definitely worth having an update. So we can now go to import with his transmitter connected. We can go to his NB4 Plus folder. It'll show you all the models you've got backed up. You'll get the transmitter going to sort of data transmission mode. We can select all his models, click add. At this point you can click on them and rearrange them if you want to, or you can just leave them where they are, and all the ones that are highlighted are your new ones. Then you can press OK and it'll just transfer them all over for you. Now this way of doing it is a lot better than having to now mess around setting each and every one of your model memories up. The only thing you will have to do on this one is rebind to each one. Now as a rule, usually when it's a full model wipe like this is because they've changed something major on the actual firmware, which is down to the stick calibration, the fail-safe setups. So it is quite a big change that they've made on this NB4 Plus firmware. Even if it's functionality that you might not use, it's definitely something that you'll see. If you do get it where assistant crashes like that afterwards, you can just power off your transmitter, power it back on.
Welcome to Noble Plus.
And then you can just go into your models and just make sure that they all went on. So we've got all the way down to Monster Beetle, which is what I had on the transmitter to start with. So we've got everything set. We don't need assistant anymore. So let's see if we can have a look and see what the features are that have changed. We've got the actual change log. So let's get you zoomed in on the transmitter and see what we've got. Right, so new features that we've got. If I've just got it bound to a receiver with the BVD on, but basically if we go into settings and then go to display sensors, you can see all your sensors here. If you hit that, it'll change to a min max. So if it's a sensor that goes down, it'll record the minimum. If it's a sensor that goes up, it'll record the maximum. So that's quite useful. You can see the minimum that your battery got to on the run that you've just done. Signal strength, so you can check, see if you're going to run out of range. It's quite nice that it keeps this sort of log of your sensors. So if you did have a speed sensor, you could run it and it would record the maximum number that it goes up to. So you can also reset the value and then it'll reset them all for you. So yeah, I do like the fact that it's going to then keep the maximum settings. You can also do your data record, which I've just been doing. So if we start this, and you can set various sensors or your throttle position and everything to track, so you've still got the ability to do that. Another one is the fail-safe option. So if we go in here, we can turn off the fail-safe warning, so it won't warn you that you've not set your fail-safe. Not so much of an issue on an electric, but a petrol or nitro engine, you really want to be making sure that your fail-safe set up so you don't get a runaway. It is also safer if you have it set up so on an electric, it just sets all your servos to just neutral. So you can do that. You can have a fixed value where it'll set it to 0, or you can set the actual value. If you wanted it to go around in circles, just set it, hold it, and then back out, and it'll lock the steering to that. You can have the throttle wherever you back out, it'll lock it. So it is quite useful. And then all the, if you do lose signal, all your servos or your ESC will just go to 0 or whatever you've got them set to. That's quite nice. And I believe there's low power mode, which, to what I can work out on this, it's how long you leave the transmitter before it drops to low TX power. So you can set it all the way up to 30 minutes. We can turn it on and you can turn it off. So that's something else new. And I think it did say on here something about it's got a different option. So yeah, TH prop, you can put that on. So it'll show you your actual position. So we run it throttle 50-50. So in the menu now we do have TH position or proportion. So you've got fixed value, 70-30 or a custom. The only thing that strikes me as strange with this, so we can set a 70-30, but then you're going to have to reset up your model and it's still the same amount of travel physically. So without an option of setting a 70-30 sort of throttle, I'm not sure how much use that's going to be, but the option's there all the same. You can reset it back. So your options are 50-50, 70-30, or you can go into custom. Not sure how we can change that. So if we go on custom, then we've got the option of changing the percentage of brake and front.
Please confirm.
So as I say, not sure how much use that's going to be. Because ultimately you can't change the position of your throttle, but it's something added in the firmware. But that should just about cover everything. And I can see my little receiver pack is almost down to 6 volts, so best get that unplugged and charged up. And that's what happens when your BVD alarm's on. So that's the 109 update. So let's wrap this one up. So there we have it, the NB4 Plus fully updated, models restored, and a few features. So you've got a bit more advanced failsafe feature where you can have the warning on off. We've got the option where we can drop the TX power after a certain amount of time. And the throttle proportion, not really sure how much use that's going to be, although whether it's something people have asked for. Not really something I've ever wanted to use, and I've raced and bashed RC cars with all these transmitters, but it's another feature added. But thanks a lot for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.